We are here. Hi, and welcome to a very brand new show. Very excited to be here, called Build on Open Source. Every 2 weeks, we're going to come to you in twitch.tv/AWS and talk about exciting updates from the open source community. I'm coming live from you from Perth in Australia, and I'm Derek.
And I'm coming live for you from Whitstable in Kent in the UK, and I'm Ricardo. And I'm very, very happy to be here, Derek, with you.
Yay! So, Ricardo, let's start with what we're going to talk about today. Let's get really just cut to the chase.
Yeah, definitely. So, for everyone watching, this is going to be the format that we're going to take for every show. We're going to start off with some news. We're going to look at kind of the open source news from around the world. We're going to sort of take a look at the newsletter that I'm currently in the middle of writing. So no one's seen this yet. So you'll have exclusive views of the latest one, which I'm going to publish on Monday. We're going to take a look at that, and then what we're going to do, Garrick, I think, if the demo gods and goddesses are smiling with us, we are going to do some cool demos and coding, right?
Yep.
So this week,
not two,
not one,
but three.
But three. Yeah. So if any of them go wrong, then we've got some failover, because everything goes wrong all the time. So it's always good to have that covered. So then we're gonna, once we finish the demos, we're then gonna wrap up with some news, some more news, some blog posts that you need to know about, events, things like that, other content that's really been really good. Before we close up, maybe with a challenge or two.
Nice.
So I think that's pretty much what we're hopefully going to be doing.
Sounds fantastic, Rick.
anything?
So as we are live on Twitch, we'd really love to know if anybody's watching and where you're watching from. So post in the chat, say hi. We'll say hi back, give you a shout out, and as well as the stuff that Rick talked about. We're also hoping to get, if you're an open source contributor or excited about open source, we'd love to get you on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
So later on, we're going to tell you how to get in contact and how to reach out and get you and get on the show. So
yeah, in fact, actually, that's a good point that you reminded me there. We are going to have guests on the show, aren't we?
We are.
And we are planning this. Obviously, we're going to be doing this every 2 weeks, and I can tell you, we've got some great guests that want to come on the show. So keep with us, guys and girls. Okay, it's going to be a really epic journey, and we've got really fantastic contributors and maintainers that are going to come on and talk about their really cool open source projects.
That's right. So watch this space, please. So I think, Rick, we're going to jump into our first section.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. It works. Okay, so this is the new newsletter that I'm currently putting together. It's the highlight of the last week of open source news. So I'm going to cover projects. I'll quickly talk about some of the important projects, but I'm going to do this for the next sort of 10 minutes. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is that at the end of the show, we're going to share a link for the survey. And if you complete the survey, you'll get exclusive access to this newsletter before anyone else. So watch out for that link at the end of the show. Right. So This week, things you need to know about. Okay. I guess the first thing for those that didn't catch it, was the announcement of the. Actually, I'm gonna talk about that later. So let me skip that. I'm gonna talk about that one later.
Sit on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll sit on that one. Let's talk about the projects because we really are interested in the projects. Okay. Now the first one that I came across last week was this project called Matano. Now, imagine that you are have got a number of tools that you use to create logs from all your systems, applications, and you're using you want to get information from that log, such as are there any patterns around that might suggest suspicious activity? Okay, that's a lot of data, right? So this project is an open source data lake security project. So it basically means that you can get all your security data in there. And then it provides tools to help you understand that information. So it's very interesting. I haven't had a look at it yet, but I've put this on my to-do list of projects to get. So maybe in a future show, we'll cover that.
So this would really take over what people would traditionally call a SIEM, and as a way of ingesting all security data into a single spot.
Yeah, I mean the SIEMs I know in the past, right? The Splunks and the Elastic searches and all the open searches. That's what they've been heavily used for, right? I think this is maybe just taking a bigger approach, perhaps, and maybe being able to apply the tools you currently use in your data lake to analyze that information. I haven't really looked at it yet, so I can't comment. But it looks interesting and it's new. So check it out if this is something you do. The second one, also very interesting project. Okay, granted approvals, right? Now, another common pattern or use case we have is how do you, within your organization, kind of handle the provisioning of resources requests to your builders, right? So this is a fancy GUI and request system that allows you to grant access, on an ad hoc and as needed basis, right? So I've not really looked, but it looks very slick, very nice UI, and I'm a sucker for a good UI.
Any idea what it's written in?
I don't actually. I tell you what, let's have a look.
Yeah, go on. We're off schedule. We're off script already.
let's have a look. No, it's good. It's good. It's what's it written in? It doesn't say here, does it? Oh look,
there's a YAML.
Go. It's Go in TypeScript.
Yeah. There we go.
So
there we go.
Go in TypeScript. There we go. You'll be happy then.
Yes. Well, yeah. 50% happy. I won't tell you which 50% is preferred. Cool.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay. So that's cool. So definitely that's one I'm also on my to-do list because I kind of like. There's quite a few open source projects actually that kind of solve this problem around how to vend AWS or cloud services to your builder. So I put this in that category.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it goes multi-account as well, because obviously that's always the trickiest part with multi-account, multi-region.
Yeah, I think a lot of these do actually manage that to varying degrees, right? Yep. So next one is Pike, which is a new tool. It's very much alpha. The name. Yeah, it's a great name, especially for the Fisher people out there. And what this is intended to do really is to help you understand what are your least privileged IAM permissions when you're doing infrastructure as code. Okay, so one of the things I really love about infrastructure code, which is why now I always tend to start with infrastructure code, is I think it makes working with IAM policies and IAM permissions much easier. Yep. Because I can see it. I can see what I put there, right? So so this hopefully is going to help me. I had a quick look, but he's looking for people to help. So have a look and then do a pull request or issue.
Yeah, and how is it connected into the CDK, or how do you apply?
No,
Did you have a look?
It's not. I don't think.
Sorry,
it's
I'm asking all of these questions.
Yeah, that's all right. It's okay. it's Terraform actually. It's Terraform.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
So
that's nice.
Yeah. So this is how it currently works. So Terraform. Yeah. So actually, it's a run. It's actually running. It runs as a tool, so you can run anywhere, I guess.
Oh, cool.
So
that's nice.
Yeah.
I always get questions about specifically when I see what's the least privileged application that I can stand up.
Yeah, with. and I do that as well. And actually, I've just realised. Yes, exactly. I did not know that. This is it. So, so for those of a certain age, will probably not know that this. I think is it
Dad's Army?
Hotman. That's Dad's Army. Sorry,
Dad's Army. Dad's Army.
Yeah. It's Dad's Army. So it's a TV program from the UK that probably is international now. and this is one of the characters.
Old, very old TV program.
Yeah.
It's probably all dead.
So good stuff. This project here is around helping you to configure SSO using Terraform. So again, one of those things you have to do normally yourself. So it's a handy little tool. Auto packaging recipes. I didn't know what auto package was. So again, one of the things I love about doing this, is I get to learn loads about various different open source packages. Projects. And auto package actually is a packaging system used by Macs. And in this particular repo, we've got Coretto and Wicker. Now, for those of you who might have been familiar with or work in the security space, Wicker was I think a security startup which Amazon recently acquired. And so there's some tooling that you can obviously run on your Macs, and that and Coretto are two of the recipes that you can use if you're using auto packaging. So
cool.
Very useful. This one I like, given the fact that we just had the Excel World Championships. I'm not sure if people are aware of this, right? Did you know this, Derek?
I actually saw a few posts about this. I was like, "Ooh, Formula City! I can do a sum." That's about it.
Well, I have a very difficult and complicated relationship with Excel because I want to hate it, but when I start working with data, I just love it, right? And then I do a pie chart, and that's it. It's game over, right? So this
That's pretty
is a
fancy.
Plugin.
That's pretty fancy.
It is, yeah. This is a plugin that allows you to export data in Excel format from your Postgres database. So that could be useful for some people who might currently be doing this through a service of some kind.
Yeah.
So I just want to wrap up because I know we got demos, right? So I'm going to just talk about a couple of other projects.
That's all right. That's all right. If anybody's just joined and is wondering what on earth is going on here, you've just found the Build on Open Source show with me, Derek, and that's Ricardo down there. And we're talking about the all open source releases and what's went on in open source over the last 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks you can come here and join us. Sorry, Ricardo. Back to you.
No worries. And also, of course, Derek, we want to hear your questions. Okay, we want to know what open source software do you love? What's your favorite open source project? Are you working on open source projects? Or if you've got any questions about the stuff we're showing you here, please throw the question in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer it. So just going to wrap up with a couple of others. We've got Code Whisperer is a new preview service at the moment that allows you to use AI to create code magically for you. One of the things I like about it from an open, I haven't, I'm really annoyed with myself because I had a preview code, but didn't realize the preview code expired after 7 days. So I've lost it. So I know. So I'm really upset. But I was working on demo, so I had a good excuse. But what I love about Code Whisperer is that actually, if it's taking an extract or suggesting an extract that's from an open source project, it will actually give you links to that project and allow you to build attribution documents, which is awesome, right? Because with open source, we like to attribute the projects. We like to stand on the shoulder of giants. Whoops.
Sure. Don't stand on your cord and unplug yourself, by the way.
Yeah. That's the first time that's happened on live. So yes, there's a workshop there, so that could be cool. And then this one here, which I am definitely going to do because I'm really into hybrid at the moment. So this has got every acronym under the sun. It's EKSD, EKSA. So EKSD is a distro for EKS that you can run anywhere, and EKS Anywhere allows you to run EKS anywhere. So this basically is a solution that, in theory, allows you to run EKS applications anywhere, right? Using a combination of these three different approaches. I've not really looked at it in much detail, but it does look super interesting. So definitely one to check out. And then the other projects as well, which you can check out if you get access to the survey. If you get access to the newsletter for completing the survey, or wait till next week, depending on what you want. There's more projects around, multi-cluster GitOps, doing automated CI/CD kind of pipelines, as well as a couple of really nice examples of how to automate the process of creating your libraries, either Java or Python. No TypeScript, unfortunately, at the moment, but I'm sure that will come. As well as a really nice serverless approach for updating the availability zone. So that's kind of a very quick rundown of the projects this week.
Nice.
And again, just to finish this section off, okay, if you out there are working on any open source project and you want me to include it in the newsletter, please reach out to me through Twitter, or email, whichever way you want to contact me.
You can Twitter us. You can tweet us.
you could tweet us,
Yeah.
you know, and I'd love to include it. So just, you know, I'm always sort of putting the kind of community projects first, because I really love a lot of the passion that goes into these. So if you are working on something, then please reach out and we'll include it.
Yeah.
So
And
that is the
who knows?
news this week.
We may even talk about it on the show, Rick, as
Oh,
well.
we might.
Double it
Yeah,
up.
exactly. Yeah. That'd be exciting.
Yep. Cool. Nice roundup of the week. So that brings to the end.
What's
The
next?
first section. Well. I wonder what could be.
Oh, let me take that off. Oh no, I've ruined the effect. Oh, scratch that. You didn't see that, audience. You didn't see that.
We'll cut that out in post.
Yeah, okay. So Derek, what demos are we going to show today?
Well, Rick, we got, as we said at the top of the show, we've just got the 3 demos. We thought we'd take it easy today and do 3 demos. So we're going to start with, I'll just go a summary of them to start with. We're going to do a demo on one of the posts that we saw on the blog, last blog, about the X-Ray CLI. So this is a cool little tool. It's ASCII art at its best. So I'm going to demo that.
And we like ASCII art. We love ASCII.
Yes, ASCII art for the win. It's like the best. So I'm going to demo that. More. If you are an open source contributor, or you know of an open source project that has ASCII art, we want it.
Oh yeah, that's it. We want to see. And I know actually the folks behind X-Ray CLI, Lars, he's a big fan as well, because he always tells me when he's got a new ASCII art, and I get very excited.
So after we've dived into the X-Ray CLI ASCII style, I'm then going to switch into Flutter. So Flutter and AWS Amplify, both open source.
So Derek, what's Flutter?
So Flutter is a cross-platform mobile, web, and desktop application builder and framework. So if you want the almost the mythical, the holy grail, write once, run everywhere, then Flutter is definitely the framework that is raising its head over the parapet the most. I play with it a lot, and it's very cool. So what's happened recently is we've released the AWS Amplify project team have released a preview version of some components for Flutter that will run across all of the platforms, all the things. So I'm going to demonstrate the first of those, which is the auth component. And then once that all works, I'm going to hand it over to you.
You are.
What are you going to demo?
And I have a demo. So there's been a kind of a theme. I kind of track themes, and over a period of like months, we'll see patterns of projects. And one of the patterns I'm seeing at the moment is a lot of example CI/CD pipelines or DevSecOps. Providing you an idea of how you can shift left. So last week there was a project that seemed to resonate with a lot of people called DevSecOps. Mm-hmm. And it shows you how you can take a simple Python application, so it's a Hello World application, containerize it, deploy it on EKS, but do a lot of the stuff early on in the pipeline around making sure that the application conforms to Python coding standards, scanning the containers for security vulnerabilities, and doing that in an automated way, so that basically by the time it gets deployed, you've gone through all those checks and you've done them early. So I'll be going through that and showing you. Actually, I kicked it off before we went on air, so hopefully it will be finished, and I'll hopefully be showing that quickly. So that's what I'll be showing.
Let's get into it.
So go into it. Let's go, Derek. Let's
go.
I'm dying to see this. I'm dying to see this demo.
So first of all, I'm going to start the X-Ray CLI by going into a little bit about X-Ray itself. So if you haven't used X-Ray, as I'm talking while I share my screen, if you haven't used X-Ray before, it's a way of tracing calls between services, and the usual way you consume those traces is via this, which is it's the CloudWatch Oh, actually, it's the CloudWatch dashboard. And recently, if you haven't looked at the CloudWatch dashboard, you'll notice the X-ray is actually inside the CloudWatch dashboard. So I've built a little application here just to simulate some traces. So I've got an API gateway, and if I click into it, it'll give me the traces requests. I can view traces over here, and it's a nice way of viewing, how many times it's been hit, how it's been hit, the response code, response time, all that great information is in the traces, and is all part of X-ray. Now this is really nice.
So Derek, is X-ray part of this kind of like this hot topic of observability, right? Allowing you to understand your application in much detail, so it can help you, improve performance, more quickly troubleshoot issues and problems, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, 100%, Rick. And that's why I think the CloudWatch dashboard, as we see now, is bringing in all the elements of observability.
I like it.
So you got alarms,
but it's not ASCII art though.
It's not.
That's the only thing. If I had an AWS wish list, I want an ASCII art version of this.
If anybody's out there and fancies putting all of the logs and alarms in ASCII art,
oh yeah.
Well, we'll
be your biggest fan.
The whole episode. So yeah, CloudWatch is almost the central is the central place for observability and applications running on AWS, and it's fantastic. But what if, and this is the question I pose, as developers, we don't want to go to the browser?
No, we don't.
No, we do not. This is where we live. Cut to other screen. We live in something that looks a little bit like this. This is a good old terminal. Nice. And so, see the way I recite that?
I feel at home.
And so this is where we do, we do our thing. But what if we could actually bring in X-ray traces? Well, we can. Via the X-ray CLI command. So
that X-ray CLI command, Derek, is that part of this open source project, or is this part of the AWS X-ray thing?
All right, great question, Rick. This is part of the open source project. So this is the open source project that I'm demoing, and I'll show you the demo, and then I'll cut back to the project itself, just to give you just let everybody know where it is.
Sounds good.
So because I got quite excited there about ASCII art.
You did. It's okay. It's good. It's good. I'm getting excited as well. So,
so I want to do a selected trace. So before you saw me in the console, I was clicking through a few things and I selected trace, and it brought out a little graph. Well, I can do the same with ASCII art, and here it is. It's a trace. So what?
Nice.
I love it. And notice the icons. Notice the icons. We've got open AWS console, so you can actually go
do that
direct to the console from this line. You can bring up the summary of traces. So if I hit space, it will expand the trace summary, and so you can go into things like the HTTP call, which is awesome in ASCII. I think this is sorry, I'm getting excited because I think this is awesome.
No, this is awesome.
Without having to go into a web browser. So I could also dig into each individual trace. So this trace I'm looking at the minute, if you can read that, it's from a canary. So in AWS, you can set up a canary request, so you can ping your endpoint X number of times with a GET or a POST or whatever, just to make sure it's still up or still functioning. And so that's what this trace is. And so I can actually dive into it as well, see the path, see its ID. I can actually open it in the console, so it'll open up the canary trace, which is very, very cool indeed. And so I can, and it'll also show you, if you notice, the time. So the blocks of different time in the console, and it shows you all of that. I can have fun just expanding that and tracing out the resource names. which is absolutely awesome.
It's actually very feature rich. It allows you to do everything pretty much what you need, doesn't it?
Yep. And not only feature rich, but again, the icons, the door for exit.
Yeah, we like that. We like that.
Yep.
We're easily pleased, aren't we, Derek?
Yeah. I've been playing around with this for much too long. So if you are interested in it, I'll just pull up the actual.
Whilst you're doing that, the scrolly message at the bottom is the link for all the projects we're going to be covering on demos. You can find all the code as well as readmes on how to get them up and running and links to the source projects. Okay, so make sure you check that out for all the info.
Yes, sure. So this is the. Let me zoom in a bit. So this is the project itself. GitHub. I'm going to actually. Can I just go like this? And I'm doing this. It's going live. Banners.
I'm excited. What's going to happen? What is going to happen?
Anything can happen.
Exactly. What are you doing?
There it is.
Hey, that's
it. So that's where you can get it. And all you have to do, and the install instructions are all here. There's a much better demo than I could provide, but you simply use node to npm install, do a global of the package, and it just worked. It literally just worked. So obviously you'll have to have the AWS CLI installed, and you'll have to have a profile set up so you can access your account. We must be secure. But apart from that, it just worked first time. It was fantastic. Really enjoyable. You can also, as well as the very high level traces that I did, you can also actually specify a time window. You can specify a string to search for. So yeah, I can actually condense a very long trace into a very, very short ASCII size output, which is really cool. So you said you knew the owner of this, Rick.
Yeah, Lars. I'm not sure if Lars. I'm not sure if you're on, but if you want to sort of maybe make a message, say hello if you are. But what we do have, what we have, one thing we're gonna do from time to time is we've got these prizes, these special open source challenge coins. They're very exclusive, and I think Lars deserves one actually. I think Lars deserves one for this project.
Yeah, I think
no, because he's yeah, I mean, ASCII art, it looks really cool, very slick. Great door icon. I think he's ticking all the boxes.
Yep. I think so. Got my vote. Great work, Lars. Love your work. So that's the X-Ray CLI. Check it out now.
Excellent.
If you love the console, and if you love ASCII art, of course. If you love web browsers, you may not get it. Okay, so let's
let's look at the next one. What's the next demo?
Lars is here. Lars.
I hope we did your project justice, Lars.
Fantastic. That's cool. So let's project. Moving on from cool ASCII art to cool cross-platform. So I'll just reset. Give it a moment.
You're really pulling the kind of the cool stuff out of the bag today.
Yeah. Let's hope so. Right. That's that. The next one is I'm going to jump into my IDE for this one. So
which IDE do you prefer? What's your IDE of choice?
I'm a VS Code person myself. Yourself?
Me too. That's what I like. Yeah. Although I'm open to changing. If anyone's got a really cool IDE out there that that's new and I'm always trying new ones out. But VS Code is the one for me that just works, right? So it's simple, quick.
Yep.
So I love it.
Yep. Absolutely. I find myself gravitating towards this more and more. Although I also I do a bit of .NET development. I also like JetBrains Rider. I do like that as well.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that. I've heard good things.
Yeah. But those are the only two I've got installed at the minute. So this is a Flutter project. So if anybody hasn't seen a Flutter project before, I'm just going to see if I can zoom in on that. No.
It looks good. I can see it. I can see it on my screen, so it looks good.
So this is a Flutter project, and a Flutter project itself. So Flutter, as we said at the top of the show, is a cross-platform framework. So you can run applications across Android, iOS, on your desktop. So if you've got a Windows desktop, if you've got a Chromebook desktop, if you've got an iOS desktop, you can run it on a Chrome browser. You can run it on Firefox. I think I haven't actually tried Firefox.
Oh, okay.
So that's the beauty of Flutter, and you just write a single code base. So we've all, I know, I personally, I've dealt with a lot of cross-platform web and mobile things like Xamarin, React Native, all of promise to do things.
I know. There was one you back in the day. There was one where you would write the code once and then it would compile it against different iOS and Android. I can't remember what it was called though.
Yep.
It's an open source project, but the name escapes me now. But it was it was a very popular one.
Java.
No, no, but it was specifically for mobile. But it's really killing me now. I can't remember the name of the project. But it was and it was a thing, right? It was in the days where we were trying to battle around. Do you want to do single page app versus native, right? And so tooling started developing to make creating native applications easier. So I guess this is what Flutter's doing, right? It's helping to do that.
It's 100% what it's doing. It's doing it in a very, very cool way. I love it. What'll stand out if you start playing with Flutter is the developer experience is excellent. It's up there with ASCII art. It's excellent.
Really? Wow, that's some big words.
So what it does, it actually, from this main.dart file, it compiles it into binaries. So here you got the binaries that actually does what you said, Rick. It compiles it into the underlying platform binaries. So Linux, Mac OS, web, Windows, and depending on the runtime, then it will deploy it. So cool. I'm deploying it using, I don't know, you can see there, down here at the bottom, I can deploy in my particular instance. So I'm running on an M1 Mac. I can deploy it to a simulator, I can deploy it to Chrome, or I can deploy it to Mac OS desktop. Okay. So this is great. It's all the documentation is fantastic, and it's all great. Now, what I
can I ask a question?
Yeah,
can I ask a question? So the iPad Air simulator, is that part of Flutter, or do you have to do that? Is that part of Xcode?
Yeah. So if you're not a developer, a mobile developer, like I try to be, you won't know that building on mobile devices is a long and painful experience.
Yeah.
And you need to come prepared with lots of tools. And so if you want to build on iOS, so a Apple device that runs iOS, you need to install Xcode on your Mac. You need to, and part of Xcode is a simulator. So in the simulator tool, you can choose different devices. Simulate that you can run iOS.
Android Studio has the same, right? So because I've done a bit of Android dev in the past, and Android Studio has a very similar thing.
It does, and Android Studio works really well. I've got Android Studio working on my previous Mac. This is a new one. Lovely. And so you can choose. It's very nice, and you can choose. So what sort of what sort of Android device you want to run? It's not as well integrated as Xcode and Simulator is, but it's still it's a nice experience. But once you have all that set up, then you use Xcode. Then you just bring in Xcode, not Xcode, VS Code. Blah, blah, blah.
We knew what
that sits in front of everything, so that you can choose what device you want. So iPad Air, you can hit F5, and then it'll start running on. You can't see my simulator. Hold on. It'll start running on.
Oh, drum roll, please.
Here it is. Boom. So
wow.
That is.
So this is your Flutter app.
This is my Flutter app. This is Flutter. So it's sign in, sign up functionality. So usually, right, when you're building applications, you have to build this sign in, sign up functionality, and it can be lots and lots of classes, lots and lots of complexity, events, streams that you have to listen to, and it can get very complex. However, recently the AWS Amplify team, which, if you don't know, for those listening, is a completely open source project, all about building fantastic front-end web and mobile applications. And so the team have just released in developer preview a new version of AWS Amplify for Flutter. And the real benefits, and one of the benefits is one of the components that they've released is a sign up auth component. So again, if you've used Amplify before, you may be familiar with the auth component that exists within JavaScript. So basically, this component has been brought across to work with Flutter, which is really, really cool. But not only that, it can run across the native, the same platforms as Flutter supports. So your iOS, your web, your Mac OS, which is completely new. So if you, again, there is an existing Flutter Amplify toolset, doesn't run on Mac OS or on web. With this developer preview, it does.
That's so cool.
I'm going to quickly take you through how to build it.
Nice.
Let's do it. So let's get rid of that. That's gone, and take you back into the code, because code is where we should be all living.
So when we're not in our ASCII 2 houses.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes. We got each other. So in main.dart, no, cancel. In main.dart, there's just an entry point, main file. You do some configuring Amplify. So if you see here, you'll see an auth plugin. And so that is the plugin that has that auth widget.
Right.
Now, all I have to do is...
You have to pre-configure Cognito beforehand then, because I noticed that was a Cognito thing. So is that something you have to do beforehand, or does that Amplify do that for you?
Yep. So that's a great question. Thank you, Rick. I've got ahead of myself. So back down here in terminal, let's clear that. I have, this is set up as an Amplify project. So I can tell that by going Amplify status. So what this is doing, it'll say, you've got Amplify configured. Here are the backend services that exist. So as we're building an auth widget or an auth component, we need a authentication and authorization service to back that up, which is Cognito. So if I do Amplify status, you'll see that the category that's there is called auth. So that is what this component is communicating with.
Right.
So basically, I write a authenticator. So this is the implementation of the authenticator library. And it's a builder pattern, which is awesome. Go builder, whoever designed this, excellent. And then you build out your page that you want to define once you're authenticated, and that's it. And then you have some state. So here, I mentioned before, you can define your platform, so you can do different behaviors based on your platform.
Right. Okay.
And this is a Flutter construct, and so Linux, Windows, Mac OS, iOS, and Android. And then just this is just the UI. This displayed, and so that's it.
Can you customize the UI then?
You can definitely customize the UI like anything. So inheritance, override, and implement that. So and what I'll also have to show you is pubspec.yaml is the dependencies that Flutter uses, and so you'll see that we've got three. We've got auth Cognito version 1.0.0-0. So it's a preview, first preview. So early preview. The authenticator component, and then the Amplify Flutter libraries. So that's it.
So
it's basically 100 lines of code. Sorry?
Brand new.
Brand new. So 100 lines of code. You can have an authenticator plugin in front of your application, in front of your Flutter application, backed by Cognito.
And of course, and that's across all those platforms, right? So it's not just one; it's like all of them. Wow, that's
everyone target.
Okay,
it's very cool. Very cool. It's up there with ASCII text. Sorry.
I agree. I agree. I must say, I keep, Flutter's one of those projects that I keep meaning to try out, and I'm seeing it more and more when I check out projects. They have some Flutter element. If it's like a UI, okay, or it's an app, then I'm seeing more come delivered as a Flutter app because it helps you then deploy it wherever you need it, right? So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. And the framework and the environment, the ecosystem is well supported. There's a large library set that you can pull in and use inside your application. And as I said before, the developer experience.
Okay,
10 out of 10.
sounds good. Well, so we had 2 demos and they've both been awesome. Now it's down to my demo. So I'm hoping I'm going to keep up with the demo gods and goddesses. So what have I got for you? Okay, so I mentioned that I'm going to be covering this this sort of automated CI/CD pipeline that helps you focus on security, this DevSecOps. So this is the project repo. It was actually covered in the previous. If I find the link to it, where is it? The previous. Here we go.
At the top somewhere, isn't it? Yeah. There you go.
It's at the top. Yeah. So it's actually, where is it? I thought I had it. It was here somewhere. DevSecOps. Here we go. Yeah. I can find it. So it was referenced in last week's newsletter, and I thought I was actually I've been working and learning Kubernetes actually for a demo I'm doing. So I thought I'd give it a go because it would.
You're brave. You're very brave.
Well, it has been interesting, and one of the things that I like about open source projects, and this is a bit of a tangent before we go into code, is that open source has 4 freedoms: the freedom to study, the freedom to modify, the freedom to copy, and the freedom to run. Okay, it's the first 2 freedoms here that I was really using because the project didn't work for me straight away. But I learned probably so much actually getting it working, and I'm not sure, Derek, if you find something that like a project that you think I can use this, you go to run it and it doesn't work. So actually, people who are watching, okay, I'd love to hear from your experience. Do you get excited as me when you find a project on GitHub, you go to do a Git clone, and then it all goes downhill from there? What do you do? Do you fix it? Is that part of the buzz for you? I'd love to hear your experiences. So share on the chat. But I had a similar experience with this, and so just in kind of carrying on with the theme. This is the repo that we're sharing all the resources, and Derek and myself are going to be creating some notes. And so here, for example, I put some specific notes around what I found problematic that I had to get working. All right, so. Enough of the chit chat. Let's actually look at the actual code itself, or the demo, and what it does actually. So what does it do? So
what does it do?
Imagine you're writing an application. So let's actually switch to my IDE, and I have got also VS Code because it's
these days. Snap. No, lovely theme. Yeah, look at that theme. Purple.
And so I've got a really state of the art application, not quite as state of the art as your Flutter application, but for me, it's a Python application that outputs a screen, outputs a message. Now, at the moment, I just changed this morning. I have a pip file, a requirements file. Now here, this is an example of a good one because everything is pinned, and I've got a very simple application, so it's not going to be too problematic. But I've got a Docker file because I want to Dockerize this. But before I deploy it, I want to automate, a bunch of checks that that I want to do. So I want, and so how do I do that? So I shift as much of that early on in the development cycle. That
Rick, can I interrupt you there? We got a question. So we got a question from Yogesh, a case study for DevSecOps. So do you want to take that? I'm happy to take it if you're.
Well, I mean, tell you what, why don't you talk about whilst I get things working here? I'd love to hear your use cases because I'm still new to this space, so I'm still finding out about use cases. But for me, at least, one of the things that I've noticed when working with EKS is as you start doing all the deployments, depending on where you are, you don't want to wait half an hour before you get the errors, right? You want to have those before you deploy. So for me, this is about empowering your developers to check the code they're doing to make sure they meet the specific standards you have. And that's not just security, by the way. So I'm doing the other demo I'm doing for a event in a DevOps world is actually more about security, but also about consistency, style check, quality, all those sort of things that you might want to make sure that your code has before it hits production. And so for me, allowing me to catch those early on is great, because it means that I can iterate and fix those before it actually goes to production. So for me, it's that, right? So I'm not sure if you've got any other ones.
Yeah, so when I was dealing with customers back in the day before I actually broadcast on Twitch, the use cases usually came, and if you go onto the AWS website, you see a whole bunch of case studies around financial institutions and customers who have a very high security profile. Now, when you with DevOps and the DevOps mantra, everything must be faster, better, cheaper. As you're iterating all the time, you're deploying all the time.
Isn't that Daft Punk?
Yes, fitter, faster, stronger, better.
Exactly.
What a great album, by the way.
It is indeed.
And as such, in financial institutions, this appeals to them, and DevSecOps does as well. And exactly what you said, Ricardo, trying to get feedback quicker so that they can deploy a new version, or if they're using a library that they shouldn't, that they get that warning and notification earlier that there's a security vulnerability in it, and just the whole concept of automating everything. If you look at that, Yogesh, on the website, you see a lot of financial institutions that are using and implementing DevSecOps. I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, and you know what? Now that's got me thinking, right? What came first, Daft Punk or financial institutions mantra?
Definitely Daft Punk, because they've retired.
Oh, they have. That's right, they have, haven't they? So in the so I linked to the repo, but this is my version of the repo that fixes some of the little kind of like minor niggles that I had with it. So the first thing is that there's actually a VPC. You need a VPC. Now you can use your own one, but I created a CDK app to deploy one very quickly. Then there's a sample code for this killer app. And then we've actually got the CDK application that deploys the whole pipeline and everything in it, right? So if I quickly go through this, now this is actually TypeScript, right? And as I don't do TypeScript, so
how was it for you? How was TypeScript? How did you find your journey into TypeScript?
I feel like He-Man. I feel like I've conquered it. No, I don't. But
Zul's coming.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to say that it's one. I have a love-hate relationship with it because it's so important to know and understand TypeScript. But I think I want to focus on being half decent on something, and I'm not even half decent at Python yet, right? So for me, I try and do everything on Python, and also there's less content on CDK and other things on Python, so I try and focus on that. So but a lot of people do TypeScript CDK, so this one was one of those examples. So if I look at the code, which actually if I can scroll. Now, what this does, if I start from the beginning, it actually creates an EKS cluster, and this is where we're going to deploy our application. And it creates all the resources. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do, and if I can find it here, talk about this 4 freedoms. Where is it? Where did I put my little addition? Somewhere here. Oh no, I can't find it now.
This is the problem with TypeScript. It's very verbose.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know about that, but it's
you got to scroll too much.
Yeah. So here's the lines I found. So one of the things that I do, and I wouldn't recommend you do this in production, but it's good for demos, is that when you create an EKS cluster via infrastructure as code, when you go to the console, you can't see anything, right? Because of the security. So what I do is I have a user that I log into all my AWS accounts on that's not admin access, called ops. So it's got restricted access, and I add that to the system master, which is a special group in Kubernetes that you use to control access to your cluster. So I add that, so this is my,
nice.
Again, going back to the 4 freedoms of open source, because I had access to the source code, I could do this, I can modify it to my needs, right? And again, that's what I recommend. The projects, in AWS samples are typically, they're an example of how you might do it. and they're really useful for you to use as your baseline. But don't be afraid of modifying it and completely, changing it to your needs, right?
Good point.
So what this does,
Great
it
point.
creates an EKS cluster which I can access. It creates an ECR repository because we're going to publish our Python application to it. Does all the security so that it's least privilege, and then it creates a pipeline and code build with build spec files. And build spec are effectively the steps that you want your CI/CD process steps to do. So in this instance, for example, the first one is logging into Docker Hub. The second one is actually building the or running actually the first tool, which is Chekhov. Then we run Hadalint, and so this is all good. But let's have a look. Let's actually look what it looks like in reality, right? So if we
let's see. You're going to bring up a web browser, aren't you?
I am going to the web browser.
We need ASCII art for this, don't we?
Sadly, there is no ASCII art. But let's have a look at the pipeline. So this is one actually I did have running, and I'm hoping it's worked. It succeeded, so it actually has worked. But let me show you the pipeline first, right? So this is what that CDK stack has created. So the CDK stack creates this, and what you then need to plug into it is the source code. So this is the and this is all available. So I've done this for you. So this is this Python application that has everything needed, and it's got some special files that are used by the DevSecOps process. So Kubernetes, for example, has the deployment manifest, which is how you deploy the application to the EKS cluster, but it also has the configuration files for the security tool, so you can tweak those to your whatever you want to do. And there's some other folder about Fluent, which I haven't done as part of the demo, but the rest of the stuff is actually what you actually want to build. So if I then go back to the pipeline, you can see that for every one of these steps, the first thing is actually just checking out tracking when there's a change in the source code. And then the first thing it does, it runs a Chekhov check, which is a security tool. And we can see the logs here. The Chekhov has run, and it's not, it's passed all checks. Is it passed all checks? Error passing. Okay, so I've got an error on that one. So that's the demo gods have not been kind to me on that one.
Oh, that's good. It's actually proving that it does flag errors.
Indeed. So then we do the next test, which is actually should definitely work. And this one actually it took a while for me to get working, right? Because the Hadalint was very strict on my Python app, so I had to make a lot of changes. But you can see here, as I scroll through very quickly, all the steps running, and then the actual Hadalint process running, which I think is further down. You can start seeing here all the reports it creates, and then it gives me at the very end the fact that it's exceeded, and then once it's exceeded, it then pushes the container image to ECR. So if I go to ECR, we can see that there should be a timestamp wise, there should be a latest. So this is this morning, 7:39. So that's when I kicked it off. So you can see that's actually worked. And then we can test it to see if it's working by running the command, which let's have a look. Let's have a look. Why isn't that working here? Whoops.
Well, Rick's trying to get that working. If you've just joined us, you've joined the new Build on Open Source program, where we're taking you through some projects or highlights of the open source releases over the last couple of weeks. And you've missed a great show so far, so welcome.
But we are going to be putting this on, I think, YouTube channel, aren't we? If you have missed it, you'll be able to catch it up afterwards. So don't worry.
And you can tweet us and follow us on Twitter and keep up to date with all happenings on this new show.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rick. How are we going?
No worry. So how are we going? I don't think it's deployed. So I'm just looking at the age of let's have a look if it's running. Let's actually try and see if it works. Because what I did is I changed the message. So if we run the, but again, one of the things that, oh no, I've done that. So this is all going swimmingly well. But I have actually got in the README of the project. Where is it? Here. I've got the command to run. So let's do this. So don't be afraid to Google and copy and paste things. It's perfectly okay. I do it all the time because there's only so much my head can fit. Right, let's do that. So what we're doing effectively here is just allowing us to access that Kubernetes application, because I haven't enabled it as an external with external ingress. I have to use kubectl to act as a proxy for people who aren't familiar with Kubernetes. And what this means is that I will actually be able to use this and access locally. So let's have a look. Local host.
When Rick says kube control and you don't know what he's saying, it's kube cuddle.
So this means the application's working, but what it doesn't also mean is it means that the update, the code pipeline, hasn't actually deployed. Now I don't know why, but we can go back to the pipeline, and it's probably something I've done wrong in the Kubernetes deployment. But it did say it deployed Kubernetes, so I'm not quite sure what's happened here. Obviously, I've made a mistake in my configuration files. I'll have to troubleshoot that and see why it didn't do that. But what should have happened? What should have happened is when I did this command here, it should have showed that one of the pods has been updated. As you can see here, these are 47 hours, so it hasn't updated, so it hasn't taken the new one. So that's one failure out of 3.
That's bad. That's good. That's a win.
It's not too bad, right? So we've had 3 demos, and 2 of them have worked. One of them has been a massive failure, so apologies, but I will get it working.
Good odds. So we've got about 5 minutes left, Rick. So shall we dive into the next section directly and talk about it?
So what are the things? Okay, so I was desperately trying to check.
You nearly got there.
I nearly got there. So one of the things about open source contributions is that many people think that they're all code, but they're not. Okay, and there was a blog post in last week's newsletter that takes a look at the Apache Tinkerpop community, and AWS has a number of contributors and maintainers who work within this project, including Katrina Thompson, who, aside from being a great coder, is also an artist. And it's amazing. It's a great post. And one of the things that really strikes you about Apache Tinkerpop are the great visuals. And if you read the post, we go into the post now. You can see, it talks about some of the work she does, and it really highlights for me the fact that there are more to open source project contributions than code, right? So graphics and cool logos are good. So that got us thinking.
An ASCII art.
Okay. And ASCII art. That got us thinking, right? Wouldn't it be great if we could find out more from you out there? What are your favorite non-code contributions? And we've got a prize. Another one of these open source challenge coins. Okay,
is that a coin?
So it's a coin. These are things of beauty. They're actually amazing, and we are actually having some made especially for the show. So you'll be getting one of those. But tell us, what are your favorite non-code contributions, and actually tweet. Use the Twitter handle there. Build on open. Tweet us your favorite non-code contribution. Share a link, share a screenshot, tell us why you like it, and for the best ones, we will share them in the next episode, and you will get one of our challenge coins.
You will. So
that's the challenge of the week.
That is the challenge. So hopefully everybody's up for it. We're looking forward to some fantastic entries into the challenge. So I think it's time to wrap up, Rick. We've been on for an hour. It's flown by. And we want to hear some feedback about the show, if we could. Do you want to talk to the feedback, Rick?
So as we wrap up, okay. So we are now. The next episode is going to be September 9th, I think, isn't it, Derek? So yes. We're taking the holidays, and I hope everyone else is taking their holidays as well. So the next episode, we said it's fortnight, but we're going to take a holiday, and then September 9th, where we're going to have a special guest, hopefully with us.
We are.
But in order to get the newsletter before it's published, you can complete this short survey, and we're going to use this survey both to help us at Amazon understand how we can better serve open source communities, but also so you can actually get access to the newsletter as well. So please feel free to share your feedback with us, and we'd be very grateful. And in return, you'll get exclusive access before anyone else to the newsletter. which gets published, will get published on Monday. So we'll do this every show. If you join in our next episode, you will get access to the newsletter before anyone else. So yeah, that's what we want to know.
Awesome. Well, let's I hope everybody scanned it. Give us some feedback. So if you've missed today's show, where have you been? You missed a cool show, demos, overviews of the new open source blog from Rick. And if you missed it, well, I'll push the video on demand. I'll tweet about it on Twitter. So follow us on Build on Open. Any parting comments before we go, Rick?
No, it's been really great, Derek. Thank you for being such a brilliant host. I hope the audience has enjoyed it. Like I said, we want to hear from you about your favorite open source projects you want to see us talk about. So get in touch, follow Build on Open, check out the GitHub repo, and we'll see you on September the 9th, I think.
See you now. Bye. Bye, Rick.
Bye.